What happens when the life you've carefully built, your marriage, your family, your very sense of self, shatters in an instant? Hi, I'm Ridhima. Welcome to The Old Trunk. Today we're deep diving into The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante, translated by Anne Goldstein, a novel that doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into the raw, unfiltered chaos of a woman's unraveling. If you've ever wondered how far betrayal can push someone, this book is a gut punch you won't forget. This is a spoiler free review, so whether you've read it or are just curious, you're in safe hands. We'll cover the story, the major characters, Ferrante's unforgettable writing, the brilliance of its translation, and why this book hit me so hard. Plus, we'll explore the mystery of Elena Ferrante herself and whether this book is for you. So, what's The Days of Abandonment about? At its heart, it's a story of Olga, a woman in her late 30s living in Turin, Italy, whose world collapses when her husband abruptly leaves her. The novel traces Olga's emotional and psychological journey as she navigates the fallout of this betrayal, grappling with grief, rage, and the unraveling of her identity. This isn't a plot driven thriller, it's a raw, character driven exploration of what happens when the pillars of your life, like marriage and motherhood, start to crumble. The setting, a stifling urban apartment in the heat of summer, mirrors Olga's claustrophobic mental state. Ferrante dives deep into the messiness of human emotions, anger, shame, despair, and even glimmers of dark humor, making the story feel achingly real. It unfolds over a short time frame, but its intensity makes it feel vast. Without spoiling anything, I'll say Ferrante takes a familiar premise, a marriage falling apart, and transforms it into a universal meditation on loss and resilience. What hit me hardest was how authentic the story feels. Even if you've never lived Olga's exact experience, you'll recognize the human struggle in her story. Ferrante has a way of making the personal feel universal, like she's peeling back layers of your own heart. Let's meet the key players in this story. The cast is small but richly drawn, each character serving as a lens for Olga's journey. Olga is the novel's beating heart, a stay at home mother in her late 30s. She's a woman who's defined herself through her family and marriage. When her husband leaves, she's forced to confront who she is beyond those roles. Olga is not a likable protagonist in the traditional sense. She's raw, angry, sometimes irrational, but that's what makes her so compelling. Ferrante lets her be unapologetically human, full of contradictions in the context of the story. Olga's arc challenges societal expectations of women who are selfless caregivers, and her inner turmoil reflects the cost of those pressures. Her vivid internal monologue pulls you into her mind, making her both relatable and unforgettable. Mario, Olga's husband, is less a character than a catalyst. His absence drives the story, and while he's not as fleshed out as Olga, that's intentional. This is her story, not his. Without spoiling, I'll say Mario represents the external forces that disrupt Olga's life, leaving her to pick up the pieces. His opacity frustrated me, but it mirrors Olga's own confusion and lack of closure. In the narrative, he embodies the societal structures that often blindside women, forcing Olga to redefine her reality in his wake. Olga's two young children, Gianni, the older son, and Ilaria, the younger daughter, are not just side characters. They're central to the story's emotional weight. Ferrante writes kids with stunning authenticity. They're not overly wise or cute. They're confused, demanding, and sometimes bratty, as real kids are. Their presence highlights Olga's struggle to balance her personal pain with her role as a mother, adding layers to her character. In the story, they underscore the tension between selfhood and duty, and their interactions with Olga are both tender and gut-wrenching. I can't forget Otto, the family dog. He's a minor but poignant presence, reflecting Olga's emotional state and grounding the story in domestic reality. Pet lovers will feel a special connection to Otto's quiet moments, which add warmth and relatability without stealing the focus. Ferrante uses these characters to explore big questions about identity, womanhood, and resilience. Olga, in particular, is a lens for examining how society shapes and sometimes breaks women. The kids in Mario aren't just plot devices, they're mirrors for Olga's inner conflict. This is character driven storytelling done right. Now let's talk about Ferrante's writing, because it's the soul of this novel. If you've read her Neapolitan Quartet, you'll recognize her style. But the Days of Abandonment feels rawer, more urgent. Ferrante's prose is precise yet lyrical, like a blade slicing through your emotions. Her sentences are often short and sharp, reflecting Olga's fractured state of mind. But they build into these sweeping, torrential passages that pull you under. The writing is immersive, almost claustrophobic, as if you're trapped in Olga's head and her stifling apartment. Ferrante's use of stream of consciousness is masterful. We're deep in Olga's psyche, riding the waves of her thoughts, sometimes calm, sometimes chaotic. She pairs this with vivid sensory details: the oppressive summer heat, the clutter of the apartment, the weight of everyday objects. These ground the story in a tangible reality, making Olga's emotional chaos feel even more visceral. Ferrante's psychological depth is another standout. She captures the contradictions of human behavior, letting Olga be both strong and broken, rational and unhinged. It's not a pretty book. It's gritty, unflinching, and unapologetic, which makes its emotional impact so profound. I highlighted so many lines in this book because Ferrante's words just land. If you love authors like Virginia Woolf or Sylvia Plath, who dig into the psyche with surgical precision, you'll be obsessed with her style. Since we're talking about Ferrante's prose, we have to give credit to the woman who brought it to the English readers, translator Anne Goldstein. Goldstein is a literary legend, known for translating not just Ferrante's entire catalogue, but also works by authors like Primo Levi and Jhumpa Lahiri. In the Days of Abandonment, her translation is nothing short of miraculous. Ferrante's Italian prose is dense with emotion and rhythm, and Goldstein captures every nuance: the sharp edges of Olga's anger, the lyrical flow of her despair, the subtle shifts in tone. Reading this book, you forget it's a translation. The language feels so natural, so alive. that it's as if Ferrante wrote it in English. Goldstein's skill lies in preserving the intensity and intimacy of the original while making it accessible to a newer audience. She's not just translating words, she's translating a feeling, a culture, a voice. If you're a fan of translated literature, Goldstein's work here is a reminder of how a great translator can elevate a story to new heights. Before moving further, let's pause to talk about the enigma that is Elena Ferrante. Ferrante is a pseudonym, and her true identity is one of literature's great mysteries. Since her debut in the 1990s, she's published multiple novels, including The Days of Abandonment and the globally beloved Neapolitan Quartet. But she's never revealed her real name or shown her face. She communicates through her publisher and rare written interviews, insisting that anonymity lets her work stand on its own. Theories abound. Some say she's a woman from Naples. Others speculate she's a collective or even a man, with names like author Domenico Starnen or his wife, translator Anita Raja, floated as possibilities. A 2016 investigation claimed to unmask her, but Ferrante's identity remains unconfirmed. This mystery adds a layer of intrigue to her books, as if we're reading the confessions of a phantom. For me, her anonymity makes her writing feel even more raw. It's as if she's free to bare her soul without the weight of public scrutiny. Whoever she is, Ferrante's ability to capture the human experience is undeniable. And this novel is proof of her brilliance. So what's my take on The Days of Abandonment? In a word, wow. This book wrecked me in the best possible way. It's not an easy read, it's intense, uncomfortable, and at times overwhelming. But that's what makes it so powerful. Ferrante takes a simple premise and turns it into a profound exploration of identity, loss, and resilience. Olga's journey felt so real that I was right there with her, feeling every high and low. The writing paired with Goldstein's seamless translation is like a tidal wave. You can't look away even when it's painful. What I loved most was Ferrante's honesty. This isn't a story about a woman who neatly overcomes her struggles. It's about the messy human process of confronting pain and clawing your way back. That said, the intensity can be a lot. I had to pause a few times to catch my breath because it was so raw. If you're sensitive to themes like grief or mental health, it might be heavy, but the catharsis is worth it. For me, this book was a reminder of how literature can make us feel seen, not just in our triumphs, but in our darkest moments. To wrap up, The Days of Abandonment is a stunning, gut-wrenching novel that dives deep into the human soul. It's a masterclass in character-driven storytelling, with a protagonist who's as complex as she is relatable. Ferrante's writing is a force of nature, blending raw emotion with piercing insight. This isn't a light read, it demands your full attention and rewards you with profound truths about love, loss, and identity. This book is perfect for readers who love literary fiction, psychological dramas, or character studies. It's also great for anyone interested in themes of womanhood, motherhood, or emotional resilience. However, if you want a fast-paced plot or a feel-good vibe, this might not be your pick. Be ready for an intense, introspective journey. Alright, that's my deep dive into The Days of Abandonment. Have you read it? Did Olga's story resonate with you? Or are you adding it to your TBR? Let me know in the comments. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and press the bell icon so that you are notified of whenever I upload a new video. Check the description for links to grab this book if you're curious. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay happy. Thanks for watching. Lots of love. Bye bye.